All right, good afternoon and also good evening to our colleagues from other parts of the world. So thank you for coming to the Florence Nightingale Day panel discussion session. So joining me here on the podium, so to speak, are our 5 panelists. I will introduce them just in a minute, but first, a little bit of the history of the Florence Nightingale Day. So as you all know, Nightingale was a pioneer in data visualization. She used data effectively to provide better care for wounded soldiers in the Crimean War and for public health improvements. To honor Nightingale's legacy and also to celebrate women in statistics and data science, the Florence Nightingale Day, or which is called the Event Day, was launched in 2018 between CWS and ASA, and it is now a standalone nonprofit. So Event Day promotes future career opportunities in statistics and data science to middle and high school students. Components of the day typically include connecting the youngsters to professional women and undergraduate and graduate students. They also play trivia games and hands-on activities, which help them learning how to create stories from data. Since its inception in 2018, we have offered 5 annual event days thus far, including 7 sites in the US and 2 in Canada. We are on track to host the 6th event day, with the first one coming up on November 4th at the Ohio State University. So in this session, we have assembled 5 panelists who are all experienced hosts of an event day in their respective institutions or sites. Our panelists will discuss their experiences hosting their event day. I hope that their experiences will inspire you to consider hosting your own event day. Please contact us if you are just thinking about it, as we stand ready to help you launch this incredibly fulfillful outreach event. Our first panelist is Jessica Cole-Smith at OSU. So Dr. Cole-Smith, or Jessica, as we know her, is a senior lecturer in the Fisher College of Business, and she's the executive director of CWS. She's a partner in crime with me, as she helped me got the event day off the ground in 2018 and continued to play an important role in sustaining and growing event day. She's want me to make sure that you know that she's passionate about engaging young people, especially girls, in statistics. Our second panelist is Dr. David Klein. David is an assistant professor in the Department of Biostatistics and Data at Wake Forest University. Before joining Wake Forest, David was an assistant professor at OSU. So he was a member of the event day committee from the start, and he is now holding his own event day at Wake Forest. So he has a great deal of experience also. Our third panelist is Dr. Dawn Estep. Dawn is the director of the Canadian Statistical Sciences Institute, known as CANSI, and he is a Canada Research Chair Professor at Simon Fraser University. In his capacity as the director of CANSI, Dawn has provided unwavering support for the event day since 2021. He is a visionary and has worked tirelessly with us in mapping the future trajectory of event day. Our fourth panelist is Samantha Jo Catano. Dr. Alexander was originally going to be here, but he's not able to come due to a conflict, and Sam has graciously agreed to join the panel in his place. Sam is an assistant professor at the University of Toronto in the Department of Statistical Sciences. She is passionate about statistical outreach. She has co-organized the event day at UT, and will be sharing her experience from a Canadian perspective. Our last, certainly not the least, speaker is Dr. Swati Biswas. Swati is a professor of statistics and associate head of the Department of Mathematical Sciences at the University of Texas in Dallas. In addition to the FA Day, Swati also participates in other outreach programs. She really occupied a unique position in this panel. That's why I have her to speak the last. While others have experience hosting the event on site, Swati has organized and hosted the event virtually, not only once, but twice. So she will be able to bring her unique perspective in that regard. So panelists will share their experience in this order. After that, we will ask them to answer questions from the audience. If you have any question, please type them into the chat box. Jessica, they should be able to type into the chat, right?
Yes, it only comes to us, unfortunately, but
okay,
yes,
great.
you can either Q&A or the chat.
Thank you. And I will try to collate the questions. There are also questions that already typed into Slido. I can send the link as well, so that feel free to type it into Slido. And without further ado, Jessica, you are up first.
Okay. Do you want me to share my slides?
Yes, I'm stopping mine.
Okay. Let me, and you can put that link in the chat for everybody. For
yes,
this
I
slide.
will. Yes, I will.
Hold on, please. I shared this. Wow, my computer is not happy. All right, can y'all see my slides? All sorts of crazy things are happening. Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica Kohlschmidt. Sorry that my voice sounds terrible. As Sheila said, I've worked with her. I had the privilege of working with her as she founded this idea, and we made it happen from ideas, and that's all. I just have a couple slides to share with you, maybe. So my interest in hosting was, like I mentioned, one of the things I ran on for the caucus was engaging young people. So I have always felt, well, I like young people and I like teaching, but my parents did math with me when I was a young child. And I feel like that helped me like math for my whole life. And I didn't know anything about statistics until I was almost done with my math master's degree, which now it's a lot more popular than it was then. I won't say how long ago that was, but I think it's useful for people to know about that before they get on some track in college and it's too hard to switch to something else. So I want to get them engaged early. Let them know that this is a career that they could do, that this is something fun. There's lots of opportunities, lots of different things to do, and just get young people to know about the field before they head away to college and get carried away. So my experience with it is that it is a lot of hard work to get the whole thing together. Our first year, we discovered that Ohio State has a minor policy. So if you have minors on campus, there's all sorts of things you have to take care of. So that was news to us. We were pretty naive and had no idea that was a thing. So I don't know why my slides keep changing. Sorry. So we put a lot of work into everything: ordering food, getting a venue, ordering signs, getting volunteers, coordinating everything, getting t-shirts. But it was really rewarding to spend time with the young people and to see them engaged and interested in our activities and talking and having a good time. And they were so surprised by goodies that we gave them that they were so excited. So it was just rewarding to see all the young people and be able to share that with them. So my tips are, number one, you can reach out to the Florence Nightingale Day 501c3, our group, and we can connect with you. I didn't even touch anything. So you can reach out to us. We have lots of things that we can help you with. Make sure you plan ahead. Like I mentioned about the minor situation that we ran into at OSU, that's important. And it's important to have a support group that you're going to do this with, because you probably need more than just yourself to have a successful event. So the more people you can surround yourself with that are excited and can help you make it happen, the better off you'll be. I'm good.
Thank you, Jessica. Lots of great tips. And in fact, we are running back in November, as I said, November 4th, and we just had our committee meeting right before we got over here. And what's up next is Dave.
All right. Are you able to see my slides? Can you see my slides?
Yeah.
Sharing. Okay. So Florence Nightingale Day at Wake Forest. A few reflections on our first event here. So first, a little bit about what we did. Again, I came from Ohio State originally, so I had some experience doing it there, and so it was how do we port it here and make it work? Reiterating what Jessica said, having an energetic, enthusiastic organizing committee is super important. So I did not do this alone or even close to alone here at Wake Forest. I had great contributions from our organizing committee, which included Dr. Lucy D'Agostino McGowan, Dr. Sarah Lotspeech, Dr. Stacy Hepler, and myself. So we had a core group of people who were very interested in doing this, who brought a lot of energy, a lot of ideas, a lot of creativity to make this work. So it's important to find that core group of people around you who are really excited and interested in doing this. Our schedule, so we did a shorter day in Winston-Salem. Part of that was for logistical and budget reasons. We found it easier to shorten the day and make it a half-day event. That eliminated needing to order and buy lunch, which eliminated the need to pay for janitorial staff to clean the facilities. So we were just able to save considerably by sort of smashing the day into an afternoon. And it also helped a little bit with attention spans. We didn't lose as many people by the end of the day. So we did some trivia to warm people up. We had a careers panel with 3 women from government, industry, and academia who shared their stories. We took a little break with some light snacks, some like chips and things. And then we did hands-on activities to close out the day. Some of the activities that we settled on, and I'll bring this up later, this is a more challenging part of the day to organize and think about. We did some data visualization where we had a bunch of art supplies, and we gave students some data, and we said display it. So it was basically take the art supplies and come up with some display to communicate something about the data that we had. We did a Statapult activity, which was looking at experimental design and changing settings and sort of how do we figure out which one works best to launch the ball at the target. We did a computer simulation of the Monty Hall problem to talk a little bit about conditional probabilities and how we think about that. And we did an activity with rock, paper, scissors, where we explored, trying to win the game of rock, paper, scissors versus just random chance, and sort of how that works out through some experimentation. So what did we learn? What are some tips that we can take? So the first thing that we learned was to engage the public relations office from the university for promotion and connections. They helped us out tremendously. They wrote a promotional press release. They sent information to a network of local schools. They provided a professional photographer who took all of the pictures that are included in this slideshow. This is the kind of event that a lot of institutions want to support or want to tell people that are, these events are going on their campuses. So, definitely reach out and engage some professional support for the promotion and the PR and the advertising of the event, it's definitely very helpful. We also, I would consider using a brief evaluation at the end of the event. We did this, we found it pretty helpful. What we found was students really liked the career panel. They got a lot out of that. We got some mixed reviews on activities. And I said earlier, that's really the hard part because you get a whole diverse set of students. And so it's really hard to choose activities that hit the sweet spot for everyone, where you're not doing things that are too simple for some people, but way too hard for others. So really that's what takes the time to like, how do you hone in on activities that sort of hit the right spot for everyone? But all in all, our first FN Day was a success, and we had a very nice crowd of students that had a great time. Thanks.
Thank you, Dave. That was super informative. We certainly learned quite a bit from you as well, even though we have been hosting this for quite a number of years, and it's always a learning experience to make it better. Next up is Don. You are muted.
Okay, sorry. I'll share my screen. First of all, thanks for giving me a chance to be part of this panel. We're really excited about the Florence Nightingale Day effort in general. So my slides are a little bit different. I wanted to introduce CANSI. So my perspective is two. One is we organize the event ourselves. So that's one perspective. The other is as we're part of the group behind trying to promote the Florence Nightingale Day and have it become more and more successful, engage more and more people. So as Celia mentioned, I'm the director of CANSI, which is the Canadian Statistical Sciences Institute. And I won't go through this slide really, but just to say we're a government-funded institute in Canada. We're the national institute that supports the research in statistical sciences. Which, as I've written here, is actuarial sciences, biostatistics, data science, statistics. And a lot of what we do is collaboration and training of students. Now, if I go to the bottom bullet point, for CANSI, it's part of our mission to build an equitable, diverse, and inclusive Canadian statistical sciences community. And we do this through a number of efforts. We're very, very actively engaged in it. And it works, but the big thing that you see is that it only works with the people that are already engaged in statistical sciences research. So, we hear about now how many barriers there are encountered by students in terms of STEM fields in general. And these barriers are what causes one of the causes of lack of diversity by the time we get to the faculty. And so, and statistics faces an additional challenge in which that high school students are not often exposed to statistics in a way that makes it seem interesting or a career option. I should say high school students and their parents. So our goal for the Florence Nightingale Day is to attract more students to consider statistical sciences in their studies when they go to university. We hope this is the seed that leads to increased diversity in the statistical sciences research community ultimately. So we have the immediate organization of the Florence Nightingale Day, are fun, having fun and engaging with students, but we also have a long-term ambition for it. Now, I'll just mention a little bit how it went when we organized. So we've also supported the University of Toronto's effort, which we'll hear about, and they've been successfully doing this for several years. Simon Fraser organized it for the first time last year. And I think it was very fun. It was a lot of fun on our end, and we got a lot of feedback from the students, and they actually seemed to like all of the activities as well as the panels. We had a student panel and a career panel. Our event was about 2/3 of a day. I think we'll probably fine tune some of the activities, but mostly the activities were that they found fun. Our team was led by a faculty member, Becky Lynn, who put in a lot of work for the first time to get the thing up and running. And then she led a team of graduate students and undergraduate students and a couple postdocs to actually run the event. My role was to pick up the donuts from Tim Hortons. And then I just walked around and had fun. I think the biggest surprise we found is that you need a lot of room around the activities because high school students they're just energetic and they take a lot of space. So that's an issue for us. Now, for our event, we had some special considerations. After a long discussion, we held the event during a school day. And we view this as an equity issue because we wanted to make sure the event could be attended by students who either have to work on the weekends or whose parents have to work on the weekends. So we promoted school participation by paying for substitute teachers so that the high school teachers could come with their classes. And we actually provided we paid for bus transportation. So we also coordinated our day with the Simon Fraser University recruiting effort. So after they participated in our day starting at 9 and ending in the mid-afternoon, if they liked, they could also take a tour of campus. And almost all the students did that. So we tried to coordinate with the universities because in the long run, we hope that the universities will see this as a way to attract students to campus and therefore maybe support the event more than they would otherwise. Another issue that we work with is we want to make sure that the faculty that organize this have that activity recognized as part of their formal duties and evaluation as faculty members, as a service, and also that students that participate in it are compensated in some way. So we actually just maybe will provide funding and so on. So and I'll just say the lessons learned are what we have to deal with. Okay, well, Simon Fraser University is in a very beautiful place. It's on top of a mountain, but it means large space is a premium. And to grow the event much bigger, we probably have to look for another venue to hold it because I'm not sure we could find a space big enough up on the mountain. We have at a school where a teacher wants to bring 3 classes, which would basically fill all of our capacity. So now we're starting to have a debate about whether we want to work with one school at a time, or we want to try and have a more broad participation and limit how many students each teacher can bring. You know, what's the model for having an engaged, sustained relationship with various schools to get students to attend? And lastly, going back to as one of the sponsors of Florence Nightingale Day, I think we're still looking for a stable source of funding to underwrite the event worldwide. And there's various possibilities, but we haven't really found a single place that could be a major source of funding. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Don. That was really great perspectives, especially some of the things that you're doing differently from the other sites, including that you actually host the event on a weekday rather than a weekend and work with schools and pay for substitute teachers. And these are really great perspective that perhaps some other site can think about. And next up here is Sam. Please go ahead.
Sure, thanks. So yeah, as Shuli mentioned earlier, I'm taking over for Rohan Alexander, who was supposed to be here today. And I'm going to just talk about the University of Toronto / Cansey, Ontario Florence Nightingale Day event that we've been running the past few years. So initially I had a slide here introducing myself, but Shuli did a great job of that already, and I realize we're kind of pressed for time. So I'll just skip over this and just talk about the actual day itself. Our Florence Nightingale Day, we held it on a Saturday in February, since that was around the time of our winter break. So we were able to get good participation from faculty members and from TAs and graduate students. We invited about 25 high school girls or just general people who might be in other underrepresented gender groups to come in to our event. And our schedule kind of looks a little bit different, but similar-ish to what the other speakers were kind of saying. We had someone come in from our rare books library on campus, and they specifically talked about different spatial data that they had access to from lots of historical documents. So that was kind of cool. And then we had some introduction / icebreakers that we did with the students to kind of get them a bit ready, I guess, to do some activities. And then we did some statistics activities. We had 3 activities that the students kind of rotated between. So the first one was guessing the mean dinosaur weight from like a giant jug of like different dinosaur toys and dinosaur stickers. And the idea was just to like show that generally they were sampling like the larger toys, and they would end up having a biased or an overestimation of the mean. And then we also did some data visualization by having some TAs use the Spotify API app to plot like different aspects of the high school students' like favorite singers. And then we also had a machine learning or like build your own algorithm kind of activity, where they had a bunch of, you can see the picture up at the top, they had a bunch of cards with either dogs or cats on them. And then around the border of each card, it basically says it says like their age and how much they weigh and their color and all these different factors about the animal. And then there was like a mystery animal, and you knew all the factors, but you didn't know whether it was a cat or a dog. And then after the activities, we had lunch. And then instead of doing like an alumni or a career panel, we actually did like speed networking. So there was like 4 or 5 alumni who graduated and are now working, and the students kind of rotated between them and spent about 10 to 15 minutes chatting with each one. And I found that was like pretty effective, because when we did a panel the first year, and some of the students were reporting that it kind of dragged on a little bit longer than I guess it had to. So they found this speed networking a bit more fun, I guess, or interactive. Like everyone said, the reason why I would say to do a Florence Nightingale Day is because it is really a lot of fun. It's really rewarding. And it's kind of cool to get the perspective of like high school or younger students than the students that I currently teach. So that was a nice bonus. And then the other thing I would recommend or tips are just to like start planning early if you're going to plan something like this. Secure an organizing team early. So as was mentioned previously by David, I did not do this alone. We had like a whole organizing team. So someone who just did admin, someone who did like promo and communications, someone who did the career stuff. And then I was the faculty member doing the stats activities. And then there was still a couple other people who were also part of that team. And then we also had like a full TA team. So you can see everyone who's in like a light blue shirt in the picture is part of the university helping to host the event. And the other thing is to secure a budget or funding to make sure you're able to provide like food and make sure you're able to like fund the assistants who are like helping with activities and stuff throughout the day. I do have to head off because I'm teaching shortly. So if you have questions, I'll put my email in chat, but feel free to reach out to me. It's really fun. Highly recommend. Definitely try it out.
Thank you, Sam. That was really enlightening, especially your activities. I'm really captivated by what you have there, especially the more modern type of thing with the plotter and the ML stuff that we certainly get the kids engaged. Well, thank you for coming on in such short notice. I know it was just last night. Thanks. So thank you so much. Appreciate it, and good luck with your teaching today and every day, I guess. All right. So I just want to echo what everybody else have said so far about like you need a lot of people to help with this. You cannot do it alone. We at OSU, we also have an army of people helping. We actually regularly have 18 people working on this for a few months of the year. So all right. So Swati is up next, our last but certainly not the least speaker here.
Okay, let me my slides. You can see my slides hopefully. Yes. Okay. So hi everyone. So I'm going to talk a little bit about FN Day at UT Dallas. So as
Swati, we cannot see your slides yet. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, you cannot see my slides. Wait. So So do you see my slides now?
No.
Okay, okay. Maybe I should share my other screen. I don't know. I have two screens and somehow maybe the
I know Swati is not used to using Zoom. She's more like a team
team
person.
person.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But
All right.
okay.
Now we can see it now. Thank you.
Okay, okay, okay. So let me just switch to a different view. Sorry, give me just a moment. I think I want to switch to the. I think I don't know. This is kind of. Oops, sorry. Okay. So this is fine, I think. Or maybe let me do one thing. I think that would be better. Sorry, Can you see my slides? Can you see my slides?
It's in presenter view, not like,
It's the other view.
yeah.
Okay. Let me just go back here. Let's just take this. Okay. So this is okay.
Sure, it's your PowerPoint.
And this okay? Is this
It's
still
the notes view, but it's fine.
Oh, I don't know how this works. Okay, let's just go with this one. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So, I'm going to we hosted this in 2021 and 2022. We hosted it virtually, and in this case, we had only 2 people were organizers, as opposed to, like we were saying, for this other in-person event. Of course, you need many more organizers. Here we had just me, myself, and Dr. Pankaj Chaudhary, who is my colleague, and we were the organizers. And actually, we hosted this event virtually in conjunction with the Ohio State University. So in 2021, Ohio State also hosted this event virtually. And so it was all virtual, I mean, UTD and OSU. While in 2022, Ohio State hosted it in person, while we did it in person, virtually, but it was in conjunction with Ohio State. So essentially what we did is we all these activities, and I have a slide here of these activities. These were the activities scheduled in 2022, and similar schedule was in 2021. But for all these activities, you see that like panel of professional women, panel for graduate and undergraduate students, Kahoot, and all that. It was live telecasted from OSU. So OSU hosted it in person in 2022, and it was live telecasted. While the main thing we focused on was this interactive activity as UTD. So in 2021, though, of course, we also participated, I mean, from UTD in the student panel. There was one UTD student, undergraduate student in data science. So she participated in panel, and that was possible because Ohio State was also doing it virtually. So everyone was virtual. So it's not a problem like how we are doing it now, right? So in that sense, people can be anywhere. But in 2022, because Ohio State did it in person, of course, we didn't have any panelists at that point. So then we basically, yes. So UTD was really involved actively in this for this interactive activity. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So in 2021, like we said, OSU and UTD, we both did together virtually. And so when we did the activities, we were doing it, taking turns. So there were student volunteers from our side, UTD, and there were student volunteers from OSU side, and they were taking turns in doing each activity. While in 2022, it was all our responsibility, UTD responsibility to do the virtual activities. And the volunteers were essentially our PhD students. So these are PhD students, and it was actually, I think, a good learning experience so that helped. These volunteers were really helpful. Like other panelists have said, you need volunteers, I mean, those who will do this activity. So it really helped us a lot, and it's also a learning experience for our PhD students. They could be, I mean, undergraduate students also, master students also, whatever you can get hold, as long as they know the basic statistics concept. I mean, we just go over very basic things, of course, with these high school students. So, but it's a good learning experience for them also. So now the way we carried out these activities is that we first divided participants into breakout rooms in Zoom. And so, so participants like the high school students, they stayed in one room throughout for all their activities. So in each breakout room, all activities were conducted one by one. We had a total of 5 activities. And volunteers actually moved from one breakout room to another. So they would do activity in one room, and then they will move to the second room after the activity is over and do the same activity, and like that. Okay, so this avoided any confusion for the participants, because for the participants, the high school students, they have to just stay in one room, and volunteers will rotate from one room to another to do their activity. And then in terms of training, that was the main thing which as organizer, myself and Dr. Chaudhary, that's where the main time was spent. And that was really important to do a smooth delivery for the volunteers. And volunteers, there were, like I said, 2 volunteers assigned for each activity. And so they practice their activities. And essentially, they also decided ahead of time who will do what part. Like there were some activities like game, like there was a Monty Hall game. So among the 2 volunteers who would play the game and who will keep track of scores, because this is all virtual, keep in mind. So this has to be all figured out ahead of time, and also practice, so that there is no fumbling and all that during the actual activity. And so it was, and so we practiced this with the volunteers themselves, practiced within the partners also, and then they presented it as a practice session to us as organizers, and we gave them feedback. And then in terms of timing, where they need to stress, what are the things which is still confusing, they need to explain. So we gave them feedback, and they incorporated that feedback, and again we practiced. So we did quite a bit of practicing, and that resulted in a very, very smooth delivery of our activities. Each activity was limited to 20 minutes. And in fact, the practice was the key. And actually, we were really proud of our volunteers. And we took them for lunch, actually, also for volunteer. And so the way they did it was extremely professionally. And we also did a video recording of that, I think in 2022, I think Ohio State has that through their Zoom. So I guess that could be shared if you are interested. And that's pretty much all. These are the list of activities we did. I think I will stop here. If anyone has question, I can describe those, but I will stop here so that we have time for questions. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Swati. That's really, really helpful, especially for the people who are thinking about perhaps you want to do a test run virtually, join with any of the site that is running in person. Then OSU is certainly ready to partner with anybody who would like to try it out, running it online virtually with a small group of students, so that you can get a feel of what it is like. What you would need to do is contact us, and we have I will put out the information in one slide at the very end. Okay. And so now we are ready for questions, and I'm going to go to the first question in the Slido that was just entered after the the session has started, which is it possible to have access to the materials used in the FN Day events for others to co-organize a FN Day FND event? And I will take that. Sorry, guys. The answer is yes. We have already assembled a handbook of all the different components that you have to think about in organizing an FN Day. And so we will be ready to ship this information to you, but you need to contact us. We don't just put it out there on the website for anybody to download. And as Swati said, part of the things that we hosted were actually recorded, including the activity that Swati just talked about. The online activities were recorded. Our panels were also recorded, and we can share those material as well. Right. Any comment from the panelists about that? Because I thought this one I could take, but welcome your thoughts on that.
I meant to suggest, Sheely, we probably should think about, first of all, your booklet is fantastic because it tells you how to do everything, but there's a lot of interesting changes that people are making. So we probably have to start thinking about how to take the book and add these additional parts to it, like keep it updated, because there's a lot of exciting things to think about. We
Absolutely.
never talked about how to do that, but we should think about that.
Yes, absolutely, Dawn. We will have a meeting to go over that. Yes,
Okay.
I think that's a great suggestion. Actually, we have been meaning to do update every time that we can, but yes. Okay, so
Yeah,
we'll
now
talk
we
about
have
that.
lots of sites.
Exactly, very
They should be able to bring in and tell us,
great ideas. Yes. All
and
right.
maybe we should even have a section about things that we tried that didn't work well and why, just so people know.
Yes. Yes. All right, great idea. Let's talk about the offline, and schedule some time to talk, because we got lots of questions actually, on the Slido, that we need to, hopefully we have time to go over at least some of them. The next question is perhaps in everybody's mind when you are thinking about hosting an event, and which is approximately how many hours do you spend in organizing an in-person event? And I think that it will also be informative to know how much time one would need to spend in organizing an online event. Is it comparable? Is it easier? Anyway, so panelists, take it away. Both directions, hosting online or hosting in person.
I don't know. I feel like I feel like a lot of the logistics for doing it online were as time intensive as in person. We just didn't have to we had different logistics than you do in person. Like we didn't have to get a room, but we did have to figure out Zoom. I think we did do t-shirts and send them to people. So it's just different challenges. And I don't know how many hours we spend on this. A lot. I mean, we meet once a week for an hour and then people have other stuff to do, and we probably do that for 2 or 3 months. So it's probably 2 or 3 hours a week for 2 months or something like that to really, I mean, it depends on how many people you have and who gets stuff done, how it parses out the work. I think somebody else can talk.
I think that's about the time I was ballparking in my head is, it's probably about 2 hours a week for the semester that you do the event-ish. But I think it's more the first time when you're figuring stuff out. So, to some of Jessica's point too, like figuring out what the university policies were at Wake Forest around minors, around use of facilities, around all of those things, took time. And HR people are busy, and a volunteer event is not usually their highest priority. So it can take some effort to make sure you're in compliance with all the things that you need to be in compliance with when you're hosting under 18 students.
Any other perspectives?
I was going to say, it's more work the first time. And then, but one part that's sort of ongoing and not just the months before is contacting the high school. So it's a little different in Canada than US, but still you have to develop those relationships, and you have to give the teachers and the principals enough time to consider whether they want to participate and to what level. And it's kind of an ongoing thing. Like you have to give a lot of lead time for them to work to plan for it in the way in our model where we're trying to bring them in during the school day. So that's something that's sort of ongoing with the activity.
So that's a great leading to the next set of questions, which is about strategies for recruiting students. So don't talk about one way of doing that. Other people have talked about other ways of doing that. And so the question is, do you open it to all students, or do you actually work with particular schools and teachers? So this is indeed front and center, and the event would not be possible without students. We could spend all the time that you want, but without students, you will be just talking among yourselves. And so strategies. Any thoughts? I know Dawn has a very different model, or Canada have a different model, including Toronto. They seem to be selecting 25 kids from underrepresented groups. In the US, at least at OSU, we go with a different model. We basically open to anybody who would like to join. We have to work with lots of different entities. And Jessica, do you want to talk about what thing that we do? Maybe some strategies that we are using?
I mean, we try to make personal contacts with high schools in the area. We've talked to the Math Teachers Society or something here in Ohio. There's somebody on the Board of Education, I think, who sends a blast to superintendents. But I think it's harder to know that that gets to the teachers. We attempt to post flyers in libraries. I don't know if they make it up or if people see them. And then I think we've done some newspaper, like community newspaper-ish things.
And we're trying out this thing called geofencing this year. There is a math teacher conference happening this weekend in Sandusky, Ohio. And we basically, it's a 2-day event, and we have a geofencing. So that means that any teacher or anybody walking to the zone will get their cell phone blasted with this message about the FA Day coming up FA Day. And we're hoping that will be effective. And we're evaluating these different strategies to see which one is more effective than the other. And I agree with Dong that being able to partner with teachers is really important. We do have a couple teachers from pretty far afield, like 150 miles away. They bring kids in buses to the OSU campus each of the year that we hosted the event in person. Any other?
So I honestly think this is one of the hardest parts. As a statistician, this marketing outreach stuff doesn't come naturally. And so that's where we found it really helpful to connect with the PR office. And in hindsight, we should have done that earlier than we did. So that would be one suggestion, is like start your marketing before you even really know what you're doing, to get that going. But they had established connections. They were very excited. You know, they could do press releases from official channels and things like that, that just had a reach that we couldn't do individually. So to the extent you can get professional help, I would encourage it, because it is a more challenging aspect of the event.
Yeah, great ideas. We started doing that this year as well.
Yeah, I would add, we do that as well. We work with the offices for recruiting students to the university. And they often know high schools where the teachers are particularly interested in engaging with the university, but they also have connections. They have ways of distributing information that will reach teachers, and so on. And at least in Canada, you know, it's sort of a protected thing. You can't just sort of directly, you know, go to the high school. So you have to sort of work through these channels. So I strongly agree that you should work with your university's resources for advertising and for outreach.
Yeah, so we also work with the Department of Education of the state of Ohio, and they were the one which seems to be able to reach some of the more rural areas that we were otherwise not able to reach. I think that I want to move on to the next set of questions, which are good in terms of thinking about the timing of the event. So do you hold your event on the weekend or during the week? And what's the pros and cons of either way? And I know that OSU has been hosting that on a weekday, so weekend for logistic reasons. We just could not possibly find a venue that would be open on a weekday. And I know that KC hosted on a weekday also for logistic reasons. And so welcome other thoughts. Panelists.
So we were also a weekend for the same reasons, holding it on a campus to get space. There's space is abundant on the weekend when nobody's using it. So it's just much easier. And parking and things are usually more open on the weekends also for guests. So it just logistically was simpler.
Yeah, I can add to that. In weekends, then you will also have easier to get the volunteers because these are PhD or students. They have classes on weekdays and all those things. So which may be it's easier to get them available on weekends. Because volunteers, of course, you do need a lot of volunteers.
Yeah, the way we did that is we just had a master schedule of when the students could be available. So the students came in and out. Someone could work in the morning, someone could work in the afternoon. And you definitely had to do that if you do it during the week for exactly what you say. They have grading, they have research meeting, they have classes. So it was definitely more organization to do it during the week.
Yeah, so
And for us, it was just an equity issue.
Yeah.
I think it is an argument that if you put it on the weekends, you're gonna select out some kids who simply can't attend because of financial issues.
Yeah, right. I think that's a great thing that you considered. I mean, if possible, yeah, weekdays sounds like that's a great idea. Weekend, only thing is, I don't know. Weekdays is that I don't know here. If they come out of school hours during school hours, there are certain number of hours that the state requires, and so then they need to get permission for that to be excused absence, and so
That's
that
right.
issue will
Yeah.
be there, right?
Yeah, you have to have it recognized as an official. It's like
Yeah.
a date. It's like a field trip.
Right.
It's recognized so it's more work to do this for
More
sure.
work to exactly right to work with the
So-
school. Yes.
So it's really not a one size fits all scenario that we all have to, each side have to work
Mhm.
out a solution that fits whatever that the way that can work in. And I have a chat here which I think could be quickly answered. So let me read that. Do you use social networks for advertising your FN Day? And I think that for OSU we use Facebook, Twitter, X, not Twitter anymore, X and whatever there is out there, LinkedIn, whatever social media, social network that you can think of, we advertising all. How about the other side? Do you do that as well?
Yes, we did it. We asked our university to actually place it on their universities like UTDs, their social right sites, the universities. So they did put on those, yeah. But I don't know how much that was effective because the high school student may not be following the UTD, right? Those the Facebook or this Twitter or X, these things, right? So, but yes, we did it somewhat, yeah, I can say.
Thank you.
I
Alright,
was gonna say I'm not convinced. We do it as well a lot, but the teenagers are using their
Exactly,
well, I'm
right,
not sure
yeah.
we're really reaching
Yeah.
those. I don't know. You'd probably
Yeah.
have to get a 17-year-old to come in and tell you exactly where you should post it. If you
Yeah,
want students to see it.
yeah.
and this is why we are hoping to be
Probably
able to.
TikTok, but we're not that cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
but someone can do a rap on TikTok and post it. And we try to. So we also have someone who did a promotion, video that looks pretty cool. So I don't know. One thing that we're trying to do is try to evaluate which one of these different strategies is effective. But I want to move on to, because hopefully we can get to our next two sets of questions, if not at least one set. And that is that we have been talking about that you cannot do it alone. You have to have similar-minded people who are energetic about hosting this event. But we also have to think about getting support from universities and local community. And so the next set of questions is your university, college, and department supporting the event? How about the businesses in the community? Do you coordinate the event with student recruiting activities?
So for us, we didn't this year. Because of how we reorganized it, it was very cheap, and we were able to do it with support from the Statistical Sciences Department and the Biostatistics and Data Science Department. So we were able to just pull it off with internal university support.
The same thing for us. We got support from the department because we needed administrative support to send out these emails and all that to keep track, answer. So in that sense, just departmental support. And anyway, it was virtual, so it was no cost in that sense. dollar amount, no dollar amount. So it was just, but yeah, departmental support is good to have. Yeah, I think that's helpful to get some secretarial help, and especially with, I would imagine for in-person, you definitely will need something.
And just want everybody to know, if you are thinking about hosting this and you need some initial funding, the file we see will be able to provide $500 of support for you just to get things started. And Dave's model with running the half day was extremely cheap for us. And so, you know, because if you do that in university, there's no rental for the classroom that you host the event, and just some food and snacks. So it turned out to be quite cheap in Dave's model.
Yeah, I think just to give you an idea, ours was probably less than $500 in total, and we provided speakers with a small honorarium for traveling on a Saturday to campus, and background checks and things that we had to do. But it was not terribly expensive in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. So Kenzie has been a great sponsor for FN Day. Just want to thank Kenzie once again for that.
In Canada, you know, Kenzie has been trying to underwrite the costs. So, for example, we pay for the students, that we pay time for the students to take part. We give them some for that. And we're really interested in having the faculty that are involved have that recognized as part of their service. So, because this is sort of Kenzie's thing to be sustainable. It's extremely important for us as we try to promote this among smaller institutions, colleges, because the faculty there have very heavy teaching loads and a lot of service work. So having something like FN Day put on top of what they do already is probably not sustainable. So we want to work it into what they do, because all these universities have outreach missions and recruiting missions. So we're trying to work that angle, have it adopted as part of what the department does already, have the people working on it supported either financially from Kenzie or recognized as part of their duties by the department and the university. So we're working to make a sort of sustainable model on the human side for the participation.
Yeah, so Kenzie, it's a it's a great resource for hosting the FN Days, and also for thinking about how to be sustainable and growing as well. And these are some of the great ideas that we can take back and think about. I know that we need to end on time, and even though we have 3 minutes, but there are about 4 more sets of questions that I have here, but unfortunately, we will have to.
There's one question just popped up that I think you should answer because it's quick. Somebody asked who they should contact initially if they want to organize an event.
Yes, and this is why I am ending this Q&A, because I do have a slide which has information on who to contact. But before I pop it up, I want to thank the panelists for not just hosting the FN Day, but really for your time and sharing the experience here. And I also like to thank the audience for posting the question as well. And here I will pop up the slides that has the information. So this is the final slide that I have. I don't know whether you can see it or not. Oh, what happened here? No, that's not the right slide. Here we go. Okay, so if you're thinking about hosting an event or just thinking about it and want to get some more information, you can either go to the main website, which is fndaystat.org, and I will also put this in the chat. Or Jessica, could you do that? Put in the chat. Or you can directly go to contact us, and that will directly get you to the contact box. Or you can simply email us at info@fndaystats.org. And with that, we are running out of time. And thank everybody once again. It's a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila, for hosting us all.
Yeah, thank you.